Inner strength is not something that can be seen or measured, yet it is the very foundation upon which every aspect of life rests. It is the quiet power that keeps a person standing when the world seems to crumble around them. While many chase success, recognition, and external validation, few pause to understand that true stability and fulfillment come from what lies within. When we build our inner strength, we create a solid base that no circumstance, no criticism, and no failure can shake. Life, in its complexity, constantly presents situations that test our patience, resolve, and composure, and it is precisely in those moments that the presence of inner strength reveals itself. Inner strength is often misunderstood as being tough or unfeeling. On the contrary, it is the ability to feel deeply, to care profoundly, and yet remain grounded. It is the ability to hold your center in the midst of chaos, to maintain your clarity when emotions run high, and to act with integrity even when it is difficult. A person with inner strength does not rely on external validation for their sense of worth. They understand that their value is inherent and unshakable, not dependent on accomplishments, approval, or recognition from others. This realization brings a sense of freedom that allows one to move through life with confidence and grace. The foundation of life built on inner strength starts with self-awareness. Knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you will not compromise is the first step toward cultivating this strength. It is only when you have clarity about your values and principles that you can withstand the pressures that life inevitably brings. Without this self-knowledge, it is easy to be swayed by the opinions of others, to react impulsively to external events, or to feel helpless in the face of challenges. Inner strength provides the anchor, the unmovable point that keeps you aligned with your true self regardless of the turbulence around you. One of the most profound aspects of inner strength is resilience. Life is unpredictable and setbacks are inevitable, but it is the strength within that allows a person to rise again and again. A person with inner strength does not see failure as the end, but as a lesson, a step in the journey toward growth. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. When we cultivate this resilience, we develop an unshakable confidence in our ability to navigate life, not because life is easy, but because we have trained ourselves to remain steady amidst its difficulties. Inner strength also manifests in the ability to manage emotions. Many people are controlled by their feelings, allowing anger, fear, or sadness to dictate their actions and decisions. Strength from within, however, is the discipline to observe emotions without being enslaved by them. It is the capacity to pause before reacting, to reflect before speaking, and to act from a place of conscious choice rather than instinctive impulse. This emotional mastery does not suppress feelings, but rather channels them constructively, turning potential moments of weakness into demonstrations of power and grace. Another layer of inner strength is the ability to maintain focus and clarity in the face of distraction and temptation. The external world is filled with noise, with people and circumstances that pull us in multiple directions. Strength within is the discipline to remain aligned with one's purpose and priorities, to focus on what truly matters, and to resist being derailed by the superficial or fleeting. This focus amplifies productivity, creativity, and the quality of relationships because every action is rooted in intentionality rather than reaction. Inner strength is not built overnight, it is developed through consistent practice, through conscious effort in daily life. Every time you choose patience over frustration, every time you act with integrity instead of convenience, every time you rise after a setback, you add another layer to your foundation. It grows when you confront fear instead of avoiding it, when you take responsibility for your life instead of blaming circumstances, and when you embrace discomfort as a teacher rather than a threat. Over time, these habits solidify into a core that cannot be broken, a presence that commands respect not through force, but through the quiet power of authenticity. Perhaps most importantly, inner strength becomes the lens through which all other aspects of life are viewed and understood. Career, relationships, health, and wealth all respond to the quality of our inner life. Without a solid inner foundation, success is fragile and happiness fleeting. With it, even ordinary circumstances can be transformed into opportunities for growth, connection, and fulfillment. Inner strength allows a person to move through life not as a victim of circumstance, but as a conscious creator of their reality, because the power to endure, to rise, and to thrive comes from within, and every external manifestation is simply a reflection of that internal foundation. Life will never be without challenges. They are not interruptions or random misfortunes meant to punish us. They are the very instruments through which inner strength, wisdom, and character are forged. Many people wish for smooth paths and easy victories, but it is precisely through adversity that true growth occurs. Every challenge, no matter how daunting or unfair it may seem, carries within it a lesson, an opportunity to stretch beyond what we believed possible. Life's difficulties are not obstacles to avoid, they are training ground, shaping our capacity to endure, adapt, and thrive. The first step in understanding challenges as training is recognizing that discomfort is not the enemy. It is tempting to resist what is difficult, to hope that the storms of life will pass without leaving marks. Yet, it is in those moments of discomfort that our resilience is tested. Every time you confront a problem, rather than running from it, you are strengthening the muscles of patience, courage, and determination. Just as an athlete's body grows through resistance, so too does the mind and spirit develop through trials. Avoiding challenges may provide temporary comfort, but it stunts growth and leaves the foundation of life fragile. Challenges also teach self-reliance. When everything is easy, there is no need to dig deep within. But when life becomes difficult, when plans fail or relationships crumble, you are forced to discover your own capacity to survive, adapt, and succeed. These moments reveal the truth of your inner strength, often in ways you never expected. They show you that you are capable of more than you believed, that your mind is sharper, your heart stronger, and your spirit more resilient than any temporary setback can diminish. Each challenge is an invitation to step into a higher version of yourself, to expand the boundaries of what you know you can endure and overcome. It is important to understand that challenges are never a reflection of your worth. Often, people interpret difficulties as personal failures, allowing frustration, self-doubt, or bitterness to take root. But the reality is that life's trials are universal. They touch everyone, in ways large and small. What matters is not that you face challenges, but how you respond to them. Do you shrink and allow adversity to define you, or do you rise, see the lesson, and take action with clarity and purpose? The way you navigate difficulties becomes the measure of your character, the proof of your inner resilience, and the foundation of your long-term success. Challenges also serve as mirrors, showing us exactly where we are weak and where we need to grow. When life tests us, it exposes hidden fears, unresolved emotions, and unexamined habits. Many shy away from this truth, fearing the discomfort of introspection. Yet, the strongest people are those who embrace it. They look at their challenges as feedback rather than punishment, as a guide to sharpen the edges of their character. Each difficulty is a lesson in self-awareness, teaching patience where we are impulsive, humility where we are proud, and courage where we are timid. Without these lessons, we remain static, repeating patterns that keep us trapped in the same struggles over and over again. Another powerful aspect of seeing challenges as training ground is that it reframes suffering into purpose. Life does not hand out adversity without a reason. Every struggle carries the seeds of growth. Those who see challenges only as obstacles are doomed to frustration and despair. Those who see them as opportunities to grow, however, transform hardship into a source of strength. When you embrace this mindset, setbacks no longer feel like attacks, but like invitations to rise, to refine, and to expand your capacity to navigate life. Each challenge becomes a teacher, each difficulty a lesson, and each moment of resistance a chance to practice patience, courage, and resilience. Challenges also test the quality of our relationships, our focus, and our integrity. When external circumstances become difficult, they reveal who is truly reliable, who offers support without expectation, and who walks away when things are hard. They force you to confront distractions, temptations, and internal resistance, teaching the discipline to remain committed to your purpose and values even under pressure. In essence, challenges act as a crucible, burning away superficiality, revealing what is genuine, and strengthening what is essential. The more you face adversity with clarity and strength, the more unshakable your foundation becomes, and the less any external event can destabilize your inner world. It is also in challenges that we cultivate patience and endurance, two qualities essential for lasting achievement. Life rarely moves in straight lines, and success, fulfillment, or growth is seldom instantaneous. Every challenge, every delay, And every obstacle is an opportunity to practice waiting with grace, to persist without bitterness, and to develop the resilience that allows you to keep going when it seems easier to give up. This endurance becomes a superpower. The ability to remain steady when circumstances are unpredictable, to continue striving even when progress is slow, and to maintain hope when outcomes are uncertain is what separates those who achieve lasting success from those who falter under pressure. Ultimately, seeing challenges as your training ground transforms the way you live. You stop avoiding difficulties and start seeking the lessons within them. You begin to understand that adversity is not punishment, but preparation. The more challenges you face and overcome, the more capable, confident, and grounded you become. Life stops being a series of random events and becomes a series of opportunities for growth, mastery, and self-realization. Your mind sharpens, your heart strengthens, and your spirit becomes resilient enough to withstand the storms of life with poise, clarity, and unwavering determination. Detachment and focus are the twin pillars of inner strength, and yet they are often misunderstood. Many confuse detachment with indifference or focus with obsession, but the reality is far more subtle and profound. Detachment is not the absence of care, it is the mastery of perspective. It is the ability to remain steady-centered and unshaken even when external circumstances are unpredictable or emotionally charged. Focus, on the other hand, is the deliberate alignment of energy, attention, and intention toward what truly matters, ignoring the distractions, noise, and superficial urgencies of the world. Together, detachment and focus create a space of clarity, power, and resilience that allows a person to navigate life with precision, grace, and unwavering strength. Detachment begins with self-awareness. It requires the recognition that while you cannot always control the world, you can control your response to it. It is the understanding that external events, other people's opinions, and temporary circumstances are not the ultimate measure of your value or your peace. The detached individual remains grounded, knowing that happiness, clarity, and power originate from within, not from external validation. This detachment is not avoidance or emotional suppression. It is the conscious choice to observe situations without being pulled into reactive patterns. When practiced consistently, detachment creates freedom. You are no longer a puppet of circumstance, tossed by every wave of chaos or praise, but a calm presence capable of making decisions with clarity and integrity. Focus, in turn, is the art of directing your attention toward what truly matters while consciously ignoring everything that does not serve your purpose. Life is filled with distractions, people who seek to pull you off course, social pressures that demand conformity, and internal noise in the form of fear, doubt, and overthinking. Without focus, even the most talented or capable individual can become scattered, ineffective, and exhausted. Focus is not simply about completing tasks. It is about cultivating the mental discipline to recognize what aligns with your long-term vision and to let go of what does not. This clarity of intention allows energy to flow without resistance, creating momentum, confidence, and tangible results. Detachment and focus reinforce one another. Detachment allows you to step back from emotional turbulence and external pressures, creating a mental space where focus can be sharpened. Focus, in turn, makes detachment practical, because when you know what you truly value and what aligns with your goals, you can let go of distractions, fears, and temporary frustrations with ease. Together, they form a protective shield against the chaos and unpredictability of life. A person who masters both is not cold or disconnected. They are alert, present, and fully engaged, yet guided by a deep inner calm that ensures every action is intentional rather than reactive. The power of detachment is most evident in relationships. Many people confuse attachment with love, believing that to care deeply means to be consumed by another person's actions, moods, or approval. True detachment in relationships is the ability to love fully without losing yourself, to offer kindness without expectation, and to remain emotionally steady regardless of external behaviors. It is the understanding that control is an illusion and that peace comes from within. Detachment does not mean disengagement. It means participating consciously without surrendering your inner balance to external variables. This balance transforms interactions, deepening respect, trust, and authentic connection while preventing the chaos that arises from dependency or emotional instability. Focus similarly amplifies personal and professional success. When attention is scattered, potential is wasted, and results are diluted. Focused individuals identify what is essential, allocate their energy wisely, and act decisively rather than drifting aimlessly. Every choice is deliberate, every action aligned with purpose, and every distraction evaluated for its true worth. This level of concentration does not require frenzy or overexertion. It demands patience, clarity, and a willingness to prioritize depth over breadth. Focus transforms ambition into achievement and effort into mastery, because energy flows uninterrupted toward meaningful outcomes rather than being diluted by trivialities. Practicing detachment also strengthens emotional resilience. Life will inevitably present challenges, criticism, rejection, failure, and unexpected change. Without detachment, these events can derail a person, creating fear, frustration, or despair. With detachment, however, challenges are observed, assessed, and responded to with calmness and strategy. Detachment allows perspective to emerge, understanding that outcomes are often beyond control while reactions remain firmly within one's power. This mental clarity reduces suffering, improves decision-making, and enhances the capacity to remain composed under pressure. Equally, focus hones the ability to prioritize what is meaningful. In a world brimming with noise, distractions, and competing demands, energy is finite. Focus demands discipline, saying no to what does not serve, declining what is unessential, and refusing to be pulled into reactive cycles. This selective attention cultivates mastery, whether in skills, relationships, or personal growth, because effort is concentrated, deliberate, and consistent. Without focus, life becomes a series of reactive moments. With focus, it becomes a purposeful journey guided by intention rather than impulse. Finally, the combination of detachment and focus creates a presence that commands respect and inspires others. A person who is detached from the need for constant validation, yet fully focused on meaningful goals, radiates quiet confidence and authority. Their actions are measured, deliberate, and aligned with their values, and their calm composure becomes a source of influence and attraction. Detachment prevents them from being pulled into unnecessary drama, while focus ensures that their energy builds momentum rather than being wasted. In this way, detachment and focus are not just personal tools, they are the foundation of effectiveness, influence, and fulfillment, guiding every decision, interaction, and pursuit with clarity and power. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of true personal power, the lens through which every thought, emotion, and action can be observed, understood, and refined. Without self-awareness, even the strongest will, the sharpest mind, or the most disciplined habits can be misdirected, wasted, or undermined by unseen patterns and unconscious impulses. It is the quiet, deliberate recognition of who you are, what drives you, and how you respond to the world that allows a person to harness their full potential. Those who cultivate self-awareness gain an advantage that is deeper and more enduring than external skills, resources, or recognition, because they understand the source of their power and can direct it with precision. At its core, self-awareness is the practice of observing oneself without judgment. It is not about harsh self-criticism or endless introspection, but about honest and clear-eyed understanding. This involves recognizing patterns of thought, emotional triggers, habitual behaviors, and recurring responses to life's circumstances. When you become aware of these patterns, you gain the ability to intervene consciously, to choose your responses rather than be controlled by automatic reactions. The power in this awareness is subtle but profound. It turns moments of frustration into opportunities for growth, conflicts into lessons in diplomacy, and emotional turbulence into clarity. A person who knows themselves deeply does not waste energy on self-deception or reactive cycles. They act from a place of understanding, foresight, and intentionality. Self-awareness also amplifies personal power by revealing the truths that are often hidden beneath the surface of daily life. Many people move through the world reacting to circumstances without realizing the internal motives driving their actions. Fear, insecurity, and attachment often masquerade as desire, ambition, or passion. Without self-awareness, these hidden forces can dictate decisions, lead to repeated mistakes, and limit potential. By observing the inner landscape, a person identifies these patterns, understands their origin, and begins to take deliberate control over them. This clarity transforms uncertainty into confidence, hesitation into decisive action, and limitation into expansion. One of the most important aspects of self-awareness is emotional intelligence. Emotions are powerful forces that can either fuel or derail progress, depending on how they are understood and managed. Awareness of emotional triggers, The capacity to recognize the subtle signs of rising frustration, jealousy, or anxiety, and the ability to reflect before reacting allows a person to act from choice rather than impulse. Emotional mastery born from self-awareness creates a sense of calm authority, resilience, and poise. It also enhances relationships because understanding oneself provides the clarity to empathize with others without losing one's center. This self-mastery is a form of power that cannot be taken away by circumstances, criticism, or challenge. Self-awareness also brings clarity to personal goals and values. Many individuals pursue ambitions that are dictated by societal expectations, peer pressure, or fleeting desires, often mistaking them for their own. True power arises when actions are aligned with deeply held values, long-term vision, and authentic purpose. Awareness allows a person to discern what is meaningful versus what is trivial, what aligns with growth versus what distracts from it. This alignment ensures that energy, effort, and focus are concentrated on endeavors that produce the most profound impact. When decisions and actions are grounded in self-knowledge, success is no longer random or fleeting. It becomes a natural outcome of deliberate alignment between inner priorities and external effort. Another layer of power amplified by self-awareness is the ability to learn from experience. People who lack self-awareness often repeat mistakes, blaming circumstances or others for outcomes they fail to examine critically. In contrast, the self-aware individual uses every experience, success or failure as feedback. They pause to reflect: what was my role in this outcome? What patterns emerged? How can I adjust my thoughts, emotions, or actions to create a different result next time? This practice turns life into a continuous learning environment, transforming challenges into stepping stones and mistakes into teachers. Over time, this compounding effect produces exponential growth, wisdom, and capability. Self-awareness also strengthens resilience. Understanding one's strengths, weaknesses, and limits allows a person to navigate difficulties with strategy and composure. Challenges are no longer intimidating unknowns. They become predictable scenarios where responses are deliberate rather than reactive. By knowing what situations trigger fear, doubt, or impulsivity, a person can prepare, adjust, and remain effective even under pressure. This foresight, grounded in self-knowledge, creates a form of power that is internal, independent of external validation, and enduring through life's fluctuations. Furthermore, self-awareness enhances influence and leadership. A person who understands themselves commands respect effortlessly because their actions are consistent, intentional, and authentic. Others sense the grounded energy, the clarity of purpose, and the emotional equilibrium that comes from self-knowledge. Influence is not forced, it flows naturally from presence, authenticity, and understanding. When combined with the ability to read others and respond appropriately, self-awareness becomes a multiplier of effectiveness in communication, negotiation, and collaboration. It allows a person to navigate complex social dynamics without losing center, making their presence impactful and inspiring. Ultimately, self-awareness is the lens through which all other forms of power are magnified. Strength, focus, resilience, discipline, and emotional mastery all become more effective when guided by self-knowledge. It allows a person to direct their energy deliberately, respond with clarity, and act with purpose. Without it, even the strongest efforts can be misaligned, wasted, or undermined by unseen patterns. With it, potential is not only realized but continuously expanded, transforming life into a conscious, intentional journey where every action, thought, and decision reflects understanding, insight, and authentic power. Discipline is often misunderstood as restriction, as a chain that binds us to routines, rules, or obligations. Yet in truth, discipline is the very path to freedom. It is the internal structure that allows a person to act with intention, clarity, and power rather than being controlled by impulses, distractions, or external circumstances. Discipline is not about living a rigid or joyless life. It is about creating the conditions within which life can be fully experienced, goals can be realized, and inner strength can flourish. Those who cultivate discipline discover that the freedom it brings is unlike any external freedom. It is the freedom to choose, the freedom to act, and the freedom to live aligned with one's highest self. At its core, discipline is the consistent application of focus, effort, and self-control over time. It is the ability to show up for oneself daily, to maintain habits that align with long-term goals, and to resist the fleeting temptations that promise temporary pleasure but long-term cost. Discipline is the bridge between intention and action. Without it, vision and desire remain abstract, unfulfilled, and scattered. With it, even the most ambitious goals become achievable because consistent effort, compounded over time, transforms small steps into monumental progress. Discipline turns chaos into structure, impulsiveness into strategy, and potential into actual achievement. Discipline creates freedom because it frees a person from the tyranny of immediate impulses. Human beings are naturally inclined to seek comfort, avoid discomfort, and pursue instant gratification. Without discipline, life becomes a series of reactions, chasing pleasure, avoiding pain, and constantly being swept by emotional currents. Discipline allows a person to pause, evaluate, and choose actions that serve long-term objectives rather than succumbing to the transient allure of convenience or indulgence. In this way, discipline is not limitation, it is liberation from the unseen chains of habit, compulsion, and distraction. The person who masters discipline no longer acts as a slave to fleeting desires, but becomes the conscious architect of their life. One of the most powerful expressions of discipline is in the development of habits. Habits are the building blocks of daily life, and without deliberate discipline, they are often formed unconsciously, leading to inefficiency, regret, and wasted potential. Discipline allows a person to intentionally design habits that reinforce strength, growth, and alignment with values. Waking early, exercising consistently, maintaining focus in work, prioritizing learning, and practicing emotional regulation are all examples of disciplined habits that compound over time to create profound freedom. Once these structures are in place, life requires less effort to maintain equilibrium because the framework of disciplined routine supports sustained progress, balance, and clarity. Discipline also strengthens the mind's ability to endure challenges without surrender. Life is inherently unpredictable, and the pressures, setbacks, and uncertainties it presents test every individual. Discipline trains the mind to withstand discomfort, to persist when motivation wanes, and to remain committed even when circumstances are difficult. This endurance is a form of freedom because it allows a person to navigate life without being dictated by fear, frustration, or fatigue. By cultivating mental discipline, one gains the capacity to act decisively in the face of obstacles, to maintain emotional stability under stress, and to continue moving toward goals regardless of temporary setbacks or external noise. Another way discipline creates freedom is by clarifying priorities and enabling conscious choice. When a person lacks discipline, life can feel scattered, chaotic, and reactive, leaving little space for genuine freedom. Choices are driven by whim, emotion, or external influence. With discipline, priorities are clear, boundaries are established, and energy is directed intentionally. This intentionality reduces wasted effort, minimizes regret, and allows a person to engage fully with the activities, relationships, and pursuits that truly matter. Freedom, in this sense, is not the absence of responsibility, but the presence of conscious, deliberate power over one's own life. Discipline also fosters freedom through the cultivation of self-mastery. The most profound form of freedom is internal. Freedom from fear, doubt, insecurity, and inner chaos. Discipline trains the mind and body to respond rather than react, to act from clarity rather than impulse, and to persist even when comfort is unavailable. This inner sovereignty creates a life that is less dependent on external circumstances, more resilient in the face of uncertainty, and capable of experiencing true fulfillment regardless of transient conditions. The disciplined individual moves through life with direction, calm, and presence because they have cultivated the internal systems that allow choice, stability, and effectiveness. Importantly, discipline also enhances freedom in relationships and interactions. Emotional discipline allows a person to respond with clarity rather than react impulsively, to maintain composure in conflict, and to act from understanding rather than ego. By controlling the mind, emotions, and habits, a disciplined person brings stability, trust, and reliability to relationships, creating a space in which connections can thrive without chaos or volatility. Freedom in this context is not selfish or detached. It is the ability to engage authentically, to offer presence, and to influence positively without losing one's own center. Discipline compounds over time, creating a momentum that magnifies freedom in every area of life. Small, consistent actions in alignment with goals and values create systems that support growth, mastery, and resilience. Habits, routines, and mental clarity all converge to form a life that is self-directed rather than externally controlled. The paradox of discipline is that by restricting impulses in the present, it expands freedom in the future. The consistent application of discipline transforms potential into achievement, desire into reality, and effort into mastery, producing a life where choices are intentional, energy is abundant, and presence is unwavering. Everything external in life is a reflection of the inner world. Every relationship, every opportunity, every success or failure, and even the challenges we face are mirrors of what is cultivated inside. Often, people search for change, validation, or fulfillment outside themselves, hoping that circumstances or other people will shift their reality. Yet the truth is that no external condition can sustain happiness, confidence, or power if the inner foundation is weak. The mind, heart, and spirit create the lens through which life is perceived and acted upon, and therefore, the quality of one's inner state directly shapes the quality of one's external world. Understanding this principle is the key to mastering life because it shifts the focus from chasing outcomes to cultivating inner alignment and strength. When a person's inner state is calm, centered, and confident, the world responds in kind. Calmness attracts clarity, presence invites trust, confidence inspires cooperation. A composed person moves through life in a way that feels effortless, not because external conditions are controlled, but because the inner equilibrium allows them to respond with precision, insight, and grace. In contrast, when the inner state is chaotic, fearful, or reactive, it manifests externally as conflict, indecision, and misalignment. Relationships become strained, opportunities are missed, and challenges feel overwhelming. This is not coincidence, it is the natural consequence of energy projected outward. Life does not exist separately from the self. It is a mirror reflecting the quality of inner cultivation. Every thought, emotion, and belief carries energy that influences how one experiences the world. Negative thoughts, self-doubt, and fear create a perception of scarcity, resistance, or failure. These internal patterns are mirrored externally as tension, miscommunication, and limited results. Conversely, clarity, self-belief, and optimism create a perception of possibility, abundance, and alignment, which manifests as smoother interactions, opportunities, and favorable outcomes. By cultivating a strong, calm, and empowered inner state, a person sets the stage for their environment, relationships, and circumstances to align naturally with their intentions. The internal world is the blueprint, the external world is the construction built upon it. One of the most tangible ways this principle operates is in relationships. People often blame others for disconnection, conflict, or disappointment, failing to recognize that the energy they carry influences the dynamics around them. A person who projects insecurity, neediness, or volatility will attract and amplify these same patterns in others, creating tension and imbalance. In contrast, someone who embodies calm, self-respect, and emotional clarity invites respect, harmony, and collaboration. Detachment, focus, and self-awareness, all cultivated internally, shape the way others respond, revealing the profound truth that external interactions are largely determined by the inner landscape. This principle also governs success and opportunity in work, career, and personal projects. Confidence, focus, and resilience, qualities rooted internally, naturally produce initiative, clarity of action, and the ability to persevere through challenges. External results are rarely separated from internal preparation. The effort, mindset, and energy a person brings to a situation directly influence outcomes. Those who neglect inner cultivation often find themselves frustrated, overextended, or misaligned, chasing results that remain elusive. Conversely, those who prioritize inner growth discover that opportunities flow, obstacles are navigated more skillfully, and external achievements arise organically from the foundation of their inner work. Even in moments of adversity, the inner state shapes perception and response. Life will inevitably present difficulties, failures, loss, and unexpected challenges. How one interprets and responds to these events depends entirely on the internal framework. A person with a strong, resilient inner state sees challenges as lessons, as opportunities for growth, and as temporary conditions that do not define their worth. Someone with a fragile inner state sees the same circumstances as defeat, injustice, or overwhelming pressure. The external conditions are the same. The difference lies entirely in the internal lens. This demonstrates the absolute power of cultivating the inner world. It is the determinant of both perception and reality. The cultivation of an aligned inner state involves self-awareness, discipline, emotional regulation, and clarity of values. Every habit, thought pattern, and emotional reaction contributes to the energy projected outward. By observing and refining these internal elements, a person transforms not only themselves, but the world they interact with. Life ceases to feel like a series of random events and becomes a coherent reflection of intentional inner work. The more a person invests in strengthening the mind, clarifying the heart, and cultivating resilience, the more external life aligns with vision, purpose, and desire. Furthermore, understanding that everything external follows the inner state creates a sense of responsibility and empowerment. It shifts focus away from blame, complaints, or dependency on circumstances, placing power where it belongs within. When challenges arise, the question is no longer, why is this happening to me? But what does this reveal about my inner state? And how can I adjust to respond effectively? This perspective transforms life from a passive experience of reacting to events into an active practice of shaping reality through internal mastery. Actions, decisions, and relationships all improve when anchored in a strong inner foundation, because the internal state becomes the source of influence, stability, and attraction. Ultimately, the principle that everything external follows the inner state is both liberating and demanding. It places the power of change squarely in one's own hands. No longer dependent on luck, others' approval, or circumstances, a person who masters their inner world becomes capable of creating a life that mirrors strength, clarity, and alignment. Relationships, career, and external achievements flow naturally when the inner self is strong, balanced, and conscious, revealing that the external reality is merely a reflection of the work done within, and that the cultivation of the mind, heart, and spirit is the most potent and reliable strategy for achieving a life of purpose, fulfillment, and authentic power.